close enough to just talk.
All right. I don't know. I think we're live. Oh. How's it look?
I don't know. I'm looking good.
I don't see it.
I always.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
How do I look? How do I look? Am I doing it right?
All right. There are a lot of new people that are following this right now, so thank you all for showing up. My name is Brent DeRowan. This is the Audacity podcast. I have some amazing people here, people with information that I don't have, which is rare, but it's true. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves? DeRowan, this is the Audacity podcast.
That's great. I'm Lisa Julia.
Stephanie Forrester. Crystal Countryman.
Donnie Huss.
Perfect. And you guys represent?
HopeDealers BTC.
What, in fact, is HopeDealers BTC?
So I'm an addict in recovery. I celebrated a year sober October 9th. And 100 days into my recovery, I lost my husband of 14 years, Justin. And my normal reaction to grief or, feelings that I just didn't want to deal with would be to pick up a substance. And I fought so hard to get where I was. And I was like, I'm not going to go back. I can't. So I started HopeDealers.
Yeah. And I knew your husband. He was a good friend of mine as we grew up together. And, and it's very unfortunate that I think most of us know each other outside of this office. And we, unfortunately,
we all grew up together.
We grew up together. Yeah. And we've lost a lot of friends together.
Yeah.
So
Squirrel, Phil,
Jared.
Who else? That's it, right? And then Justin,
yeah. And one is too many. Mm-hmm. And I think we can all agree on that. So one of the things that I wanted to really discuss in getting you guys here is just helping people along with myself understanding what is really taking place. I mean, we hear the buzzwords, opiates, opioid addiction. We hear all these buzzwords, but I don't think people really truly understand, in fact, what it is, what the drug is, how are people getting hooked on it, why are people trying it, and so on and so forth. So, break it down. I mean, just talk to me and talk to us as if we are 5-year-olds. What is, let's start here. What is heroin? I mean, what's the difference between heroin and fentanyl? Let's start there.
Okay, so fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, where heroin is pure. Back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, you weren't hearing of many overdoses because the heroin was pure. Yes, it was cut with other things, but it was never synthetic. Now, when you do a synthetic opioid, you have opioid receptors in your brain.
Right.
The synthetic opioid binds tightly to those. So even getting hit with Narcan, it won't remove those.
So hang on a second. What is Narcan?
So Narcan is, it will save you if you're overdosing.
Life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Saved my life.
It's buprenorphine. It's the name of the drug.
Okay.
Naloxone. Is it naloxone?
Oh no, sorry.
Yeah,
it's naloxone without buprenorphine.
So it pushes the opioids off of your receptors, and it gives you enough time to get to the hospital, which, yes, even with hitting someone with Narcan, they should still go to the hospital because that only lasts about a half an hour. And you can re-overdose if you have had too much. Getting hit with this sends you into immediate withdrawal. So As an addict, we don't want to get hit by Narcan. That's the last thing we want. It makes us puke, shit our pants. Like, it's horrible.
Right.
Pardon we're allowed to swear in here.
You can always swear.
Okay. It's horrible. It's the flu times 100. Right. So our immediate thinking is, I need to go get something else. Well, the Narcan is covering our receptors, and we're just going to do it again, and we're not going to get high. But then once it wears off, we're going to re-overdose. Heroin to me was like that warm blanket, that security blanket. And, when you get hurt and you're in middle school, grade school, you want your mom, you want to cuddle up in her lap and her to tell you everything's going to be okay. That's what heroin was to me.
Okay.
And our reactions to Narcan, the way that we don't want to get hit with it, the reason that people wake up angry, and you hear about that in the news all the time, and people are disgusted by it, that's how powerful the disease is. Yet you still have people doubting the fact that it's a disease.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because about a year ago, I made a post on Facebook because I was ignorant. I still am ignorant to what this entirely is. And I just posed a question. I said, can somebody explain to me the difference between addiction and this being a disease? And what ended up taking place was it lit my Facebook on fire, and a lot of people had some angry words for me. A lot of people were just as ignorant as I was. But the result from it was me hanging out with Stephanie one weekend. So tell us where you took me and what we did that weekend.
So we do weekly cleanups. We meet at 10 Sullivan Street, which is right in the middle of
8 Sullivan.
10 is the field. There was a house there, got torn down. Anyways, we meet there, and this is a very active using spot. It's right behind Chester's, which is an active selling spot. We pick up on an average just behind that spot anywhere from 50 to 200 needles. And that's within half an hour to an hour and a half.
Let me just pause on that for a second. Just think about what that looks like, right? That's a lot of needles.
Yeah.
That's an environment where it's not one, it's not two. There's probably dozens of people in and out of that area. And that's just what you can find.
Right.
And you're talking about outside, or you're talking about indoors as well?
We do
Everything's
both.
outside, yeah.
And that's in a day,
right.
in a few hours.
I think the most we've picked up in a day was like 1,200. And as it's getting warmer out, you came in, it was still a little bit chilly out.
Right.
Now, there's 4 or 5 people sitting in the back of Chester's shooting up while we're cleaning up, or, we'll go back there and there's a breathing mask that was used by ambulance people because someone overdosed back there the night before.
Man, I've had dealers come up to me while I'm back there and ask me if I want shit, and I tell them to get the fuck away.
Yeah, we had that last Sunday.
Yeah, last weekend.
And it
Just comes up to me and is like, yo, you want some dope? I was like, does it look like I want some dope? I'm here to
Right.
clean up needles. My bad. You don't have to act like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was being rude to
He
him.
said you were being rude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't be rude. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Being rude. You coming up to me and asking me for dope. I mean, trying to sell me dope. I mean, that's not rude.
I had the opportunity to speak with somebody that was in the street pharmaceutical sales, I guess you could say. Right. He'll be nameless. I had a conversation with this individual, and I said to him, how can you sell this kind of drug to somebody knowing that people are passing away from it? And he looked me in my eyes and he said, if the goal is to make as much money as possible and you're selling a drug and it's killing people, how can you sell that to people? I mean, it seems to be
Like,
counterproductive.
you're
Right.
killing off your clientele.
And he looked me in my eyes and he said, for every one person that passes away, there are dozens more that think they can
And
handle
that's
this.
so
And they're
true.
coming. And they're coming
It's
for
true. It's true.
It's definitely
They
true.
aim to kill people, because once your product kills somebody, then everybody
flock to
wants it because they know that it's that good.
That's and that's how sick your mind is, because when I was actively using, we would hear about an overdose and we would be like, oh, that must be some really good stuff. Wonder where it was. Can we find out? And that's where we would want to go.
So when you say really good stuff, it could be a combination of a lot of different things. It could be heroin. It could be fentanyl. It could be something else.
But now it's just fentanyl. That's
right?
it.
Now it's just fentanyl.
Well,
It's
carfentanil too.
Yeah,
They
carfentanil.
just found in Buffalo.
Like, barely no heroin.
Yeah, a lot
Honestly,
of people.
and every bag is carfentanil or fentanyl.
Yeah, a
That's
lot of
it.
people aren't testing positive
No.
for heroin anymore at all.
No.
When I went into detox, I did 2 bags before I went in, and when I did a screen, they did a screen on me, and it all came up fentanyl. There was no heroin, nothing in my system.
And that's Justin had no heroin in his system.
When I overdosed, the same thing. No heroin. I just had fentanyl in my system, and Molly and crack and.
Okay.
So and then I was in the hospital 4 days. Got pneumonia, so that's why they kept me in there. And then as soon as I got out of the hospital, I went straight back to the spot. Got the same dope I overdosed on, and the same crack that I was smoking.
Well, you know, I think that one of the bigger things that people like to talk about, at least the people that haven't tried the drug, the people that aren't currently addicted to the drug. Well, of course, don't do it, but
It's not that easy though.
people like to argue, you know, a point, which is what got me involved with this from the beginning. I wanted to argue a point. I like to argue. I like to start shit. That's what I do, right? And
Who doesn't?
Right. And in attempting to argue the point of it being an addiction. It's not a disease, I said. It's an addiction. You make a choice. It's a decision you make. You put the needle in your arm. You bought the bag. It's not a disease. A disease is leukemia. That's a disease to me. A disease is a child with cancer. That poor little girl didn't ask for cancer.
No.
Now, somebody taking a needle and going behind some weird building and purchasing a drug, that as an adult male, to me, that's a decision.
But you also got to think about when parents are in active addiction and have kids, that drug that they're doing goes into that kid's system. So they're automatically, you know, fiending for that stuff when they get older.
So let's talk about that.
And okay,
Go ahead.
This is I can date back my addict behavior to childhood. The obsessiveness, the, you know, lying or stealing or, you know, addict behaviors.
Mhm.
The drugs were only a symptom of my disease that I used to self-medicate.
Right.
And it really upsets me. Like I get, you know, you make a choice to try something at some point, like in high school, we've all drank beers, we've all smoked pot, you know, but the people who have the disease of addiction without even knowing it already, they can't have just one beer. You know, they're unlocking Pandora's box right then and there because they like it so much. So, okay, I'm going to try cocaine now. I'm at a party. Why not? I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
that's
might
why,
be able to stop. I can't.
Right.
Right.
that's why I get so upset when you hear people saying, well, you knew what was going to happen when you tried that drug. You knew what was going to happen when you put that needle into your arm. Your generation, my generation, we didn't have an epidemic raging around us at that time. I was completely ignorant to what an opiate was when I tried it. I was told that it was the safest party drug you could do, like even safer than beer. And I was told that by a boyfriend that I loved. So of course I was a naive, dumb girl
Sure.
and believed him. And as soon as I tried that, it was over for me. I went from being a straight A, kind, honest, trustworthy individual to a horrible, lying, cheating, stealing, miserable piece of shit.
Yeah.
And that's how it happens, because as soon as you try it, your brain chemistry changes and you no longer have a choice. Like, do people want to go behind a weird building in the ghetto where anything
Or
could happen
abandoned
to
houses or something.
Right, where
Anywhere.
it's just nasty? No, what human would want to do that? But you have to.
Do you think some of this happened from like peer pressure? I mean, when I was in high school, I watched a lot of friends of mine that were on prescription drugs. Maybe it was ADHD medicine or Ritalin. Like I think there was a flurry of my friends. Everybody was on Ritalin. Thank
Right.
God my mother
Right,
did not
everybody.
put me on anything like
How
that.
was that really?
But what I've noticed is, if I can look back, I noticed that the individuals that were on Ritalin and on some kind of pill form of something that did something for them, more times than not, those are the people that gravitated to,
Drug use.
Drug use. And
but not just any drug. Maybe it was cocaine, maybe it was something else. You know, that's what I've seen. I mean, do you think that maybe peer pressure, the whole idea kind of pushes
I mean,
that?
I can give you experience. I mean, I was on Ritalin in high school, and I started making student of the month. I was showing up to class. I wasn't swearing. I wasn't fighting. As soon as summer came around and they stopped giving me the Ritalin, I started fighting, started doing drugs, started going to jail. You know?
Yeah.
It just, for some reason, there's something in some people's heads when they got ADD, HD, that pill actually helps them concentrate more and focus on life a little bit more.
And that's the thing. There are people who, you know, are prescribed pills and they take them the correct way.
Right.
There's people that hate the feeling of opiates.
Exactly.
Right. So there's a fine line between, you know, people feeling like, okay, I'm taking this pill, I have to depend on it. And they don't want to because they don't want the stigma attached. Well, I'm taking this medicine to, you know, keep me not crazy or normal.
Right, but the opioids are prescribed to people more for, is it pain?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So how do people, I mean, in your opinion, in anyone's opinion here, how do you think people gravitate from just routinely being on a pain medicine? I've heard these stories where people are on, they stop, like you mentioned, Donnie, and next thing you know, somebody gravitates toward heroin or something along those lines.
Well, people find out that it's cheaper to get heroin because sometimes street pills, like prescription pills, they cost a lot of money.
Right.
Bags of heroin, bundles of heroin are like $30-$40, and you get 12 bags, and it's still the same effect as a prescription pill.
But it's a different way to take the drug.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So you have to be okay with taking a needle.
You could, no,
No, you
no,
don't
you
sniff
can snort it, you can
Sniff it.
smoke it,
You can, yeah.
You
you can smoke
I
it.
should have asked. How do you do this drug?
Most people, I would say, start with sniffing it,
Yeah.
and then you move on
They
to
graduate.
Yeah.
Right,
graduate.
because your body becomes
Yeah.
more used to it, and you need more and more and
And
more.
you get more ballsy.
But see, the
Right,
thing is,
yes.
I never got to that point, and I did it for 13 years. I snorted and smoked it. That's it.
Right.
Never did anything
For
else.
13 years.
Yeah. When I was down in Florida and then coming back from Florida, it was like 2002 to 2000, I don't know, like 10, 12 or something like that. So when I stopped.
So Donnie, let's focus on you for a second.
No.
That seems to be
This is the most clean time I've ever had.
Yeah, well, that seems to be an impressive, time frame of doing a drug, right? I mean, as we can see nowadays, people aren't lasting with it,
No.
right? You've witnessed your friends passing,
Yeah.
right? If anybody here is on the Rochester crime alerts page, I mean, it seems like every day there's somebody posting an overdose or something. There's
Right.
something going on there. I mean, we see this stuff. How does somebody at this level right here, right now in 2018, knowing what this drug is doing to people, how do people, shoot me straight. How do people really still get involved with it? Is it
What do you mean,
something
like get involved, like
It's
doing
that
it?
you never.
like, why do you want to do it? For instance, you can drink alcohol, you can smoke pot, you can, take LSD, you can, blow lines after the bar. I mean, just being honest here,
It's a
people do
different
But
this.
it's the same thing as you drive without a seatbelt, or if you go 5 miles over the limit, you're not going to get pulled. I'm not going to get pulled over.
So you're saying that
I'm not going to get into a car accident.
so people are doing this because they don't think that they're going to get hooked.
Exactly.
There's
Yeah,
no
you
warning
know,
labels on
That's
drugs.
just like, the not my kid syndrome, which I ranted about today. So many parents want to dog out their significant other or their family member or something. And you have a child who, has the same genes. And here you're talking about Joe Smo, who you're related to. You need to educate your child on what can happen. Like sitting here saying this will never happen to you. We live in Penfield or Pittsburgh,
Right.
we go to church Sundays. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you're raised, what career path you have, if you're in sports or not. None of that matters.
Like I said, there's no warning labels on drugs when you get them. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting into.
It's true. Will you tell your children?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
open with my
Yes.
kids.
When do you think a good time frame would be to educate a child?
Now.
How old are these children that you would be talking to? I have an 8-year-old daughter. Should I talk to my daughter about it?
My
I
daughter's
would start-
5.
Start small though. Start small. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Just
obviously,
start with the
age
weed.
appropriate.
Start with the weed.
For me,
Start with the weed.
Everybody starts with
I'm
the
going
weed.
to tell my son when he's old enough to comprehend the information that I'm giving him, to comprehend what I'm telling him. Like I won't be afraid to bring him to a meeting if I need to,
Sure.
because he's a baby right now, so I don't care about that. But when he's old enough to comprehend and cognitively like understand what I'm telling him, I think go for it.
Yeah.
And my kids witnessed a lot, you know what I mean? Jacob's 11, Bella's 5. She obviously doesn't remember as much, but I am open with them and honest with them because I obviously was an addict. Their dad was an addict. I was adopted. I just found out both of my birth parents struggled with addiction.
Is that
I
right?
have siblings who are active addicts and in recovery. So I know that this is a disease. I don't have to argue that with anyone because I know that. And I just want people to educate themselves and not deter people from reaching out for help. When you talk down to others and, you know, make people feel like,
A lot of people think that tough love helps. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
That could
I
kill a
don't.
person.
It
right.
don't. A lot of people say stop talking to them. You know,
Cut them off of everything.
cut them off. Yeah,
Doesn't
from
help.
everything.
Why
Just because that person might be looking for someone to talk to, to give them some kind of hope or something, to say, don't do this, don't do that.
You need the support rather than being cut off.
I
Yeah.
begged
Right.
my family to take me to rehab when I finally wanted help. I begged them. I remember standing in my mother's driveway, like showing her the track marks on my arms and saying, look at me. Like I look at me, like I need help. Please take me to rehab. And she was like, no, I'm not going to do anything for you. Figure it out yourself. And I left and I was on the streets and I just continued to deteriorate. I mean, I'm lucky that I didn't die.
Right.
And all I wanted was just a fucking
lifeline.
ride to rehab.
Right.
Well, I think everybody's thankful that you're here. And I do think it's awesome. Are you all in recovery?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I want to flash back for a moment. I want to flash back to December of last year. I think it was December when I came and hung out with you, right? On that snowy weekend. And what we did, like you mentioned earlier, we went around different houses, some abandoned houses. I think all of them were abandoned, actually. Weird, you know, backyards cutting through this. We saw some crazy things, but ultimately we were there to pick up needles and we found just a shitload of needles. There was one moment we parked, I don't know the street that we were on,
Clinton and Burbank.
perhaps. And you said to me, you said, Brent, come walk with me for a second. And I said, okay. And it was me, you, and another kid who had a camera. And as we're walking down the sidewalk, out of nowhere, it seemed, because I wasn't prepared for it, there was a business, there were businesses on the sidewalk, and there was a little step, and maybe, I don't know, 3 feet before a door would open up into either an apartment or a business. Okay. And as the three of us were walking down that street, there was a gentleman crouched down, stabbing himself in the arm with a needle. And in a quick moment, as we walked by, I noticed that he had blood dripping down his forearm and the needle. And he kind of looked up and it shocked me. And I think we shocked him, but he didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't stop doing what he was doing. And you mentioned to me, you said, keep going. And what shocked me in that moment was my instinct was to stop and say, hey, what are you doing? Stop. Let me help you. Why did you not
stick it in?
no, to remove it? Why did you want me to not talk to him, engage with him, and to continue?
Because shooting up is a very intimate thing. And if you're already at the point where you're doing it on the street like that, you never really know what people's
Reactions.
mental state is when it's to that extent. And because people sleep in there, like those are cubbies like that on Clinton are people's homes. We've started going into a lot of these houses and cleaning them out. And at first it was a little hard. But we have to do this. This is something we have to do so people don't die in these abandoned buildings and nobody finds them.
That's what happened to Lindsay.
Right.
They didn't find her for like a week after she died.
Lindsay, who's?
Yeah. And people get upset because we're boarding up these houses, but they're unsafe. Like, you're either going to die in there of an overdose, or people are jumping like the RG&E with cables to turn it back. It's so unsafe. The floor's rotting out. There's black mold. Like, it's not good.
Asbestos.
Right.
Yeah, I was definitely shocked in that whole experience. But I will say that you're probably the bravest woman I know, because one of the houses we went to was boarded. But clearly somebody had broken that front door and entered. And when we got there, the group of us, I don't know, 15, 20 of us, however many, and you just walked up the stairs and walked right in. And I said, holy shit, wait, hang on. Whoa, wait, you just got to go in there like that? Wait, what's going on? You're like, Brent, we got to go in there. So, without having police presence or somebody, how do you feel? Is it because you know what they're going through? Is that what makes you feel comfortable enough to go into these intimate locations and actually provide a service?
I lived in those houses. I lived in places just like that.
So actually, not to cut you off, but take us through a day in the life of somebody that's addicted or has this disease, but is actively dealing with it. Like, and spare no detail. Like, waking up. Are you waking up in your bed or an abandoned house? Like, what goes on?
That's if you fall asleep.
Right.
Yeah, it really depends. On days where I could find shelter, I would wake up. I try to sleep as long as possible, because I knew as soon as I was waking up, I was going to be puking and withdrawing. And I would have to walk from wherever it was I was sleeping to go either try and get a sample, or to make money, or to rob somewhere or someone. I hated living like that, but I needed my drug to function. Like, I could not function without it. And then I'd cop. I'd get whatever. I'd get like 5 or 6 bags, and I'd shoot them all at once. And depending on how good or not it was, I'd wait like an hour and then go do the same thing again. It was just a vicious cycle.
How expensive is that?
By the time I went into treatment, I was shooting 1 gram of coke and heroin a day, at least. And that was probably about $150.
Put it this way, you will lose everything. That's how expensive it is.
You will
lose
give everything away.
everything. And I'm not just talking material things. I'm talking
Like businesses.
Yeah, but also
anything,
like
house.
Your morals,
your morals,
self-respect.
your self-respect. Like, you give away anything you have, anything you can sell, you will.
Yeah. It's tough. It's really tough to think about. Like I said, I don't have experience in that. And I'm so thankful and grateful that you guys are here to be vulnerable and talk about this openly, because there's a lot of people that just don't have a clue. They have no idea what it's really, truly like. And it sounds like it's hard, but I think at the core of most people, they would like to help out. What would you say the early warning signs would be? If somebody's going down that path, how does somebody like myself or anyone else that isn't, how do they intervene swiftly and effectively so that we can put an end to it?
That is a hard question too. I don't know. You can answer that one. I don't even know how to answer that one.
I think it's definitely needed. People need to be locking their medications up. Regardless if you think your child or friends, that's not their thing, you just don't know. And being safe about everything is definitely key, and being open and honest. A lot of us started using because we felt disconnected and we didn't communicate, and having a connection with people and helping others is what keeps me in recovery. going back to the same place where I used keeps me in recovery and reminds me of, if I pick up, I'm going to be right back here. It could be a week, it could be a day, it could be a year, but if I pick up, I'm probably not coming back out. So I don't know, there's just so many different signs. Sniffling a lot, sneezing a lot, yawning, stretching.
Staying away,
So it's
staying
just-
away from other people. Like,
Right.
Isolating yourself.
Isolated, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the reason that's such a hard question to answer is because you can't force somebody to get better. So it's hard to intervene because that person ultimately has to make that choice to get help. But I think like a lot of families will ignore it when they start noticing that something's happening and something's going on. That happened in a 15-year relationship that I had, like the love of my life. Like he was in such denial. We were living together and I was shooting up all day, every day, and he acted like he had no idea. So I think forcing it out into the light, like just confronting it head on with your loved one who is going down that path, is probably really one of the only things you can do.
I like that. Tough love. Not necessarily tough love, but the conversation, having the dialogue,
Right.
and not shying away from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what's going to save people. Once you know what's going on and you start pushing yourself to them and trying to help them instead of pushing them away. Like there's a lot of people in my life that I wish I still were talking to
Mhm.
because maybe they'd still be alive. You know, that might go through my head sometimes.
Right.
Like,
Right.
why did I push that person away? Well, that person I pushed away is because they were shooting up and I didn't want to be involved with it. So I stopped talking to them, this and that. But that person I pushed away was like a really good friend of mine.
Mhm.
And it's like goes through my head, like, what if, you know, I didn't do that? What if I was there for him? Would he still be alive?
Right.
Yeah, and I think that can be utilized with a lot of different things that people are dealing with, like depression, right? You know, there's, I live in Fairport still, and just this week there was somebody decided to end his life from the bridge, from Linden Bridge.
Yeah.
And I think one of the saddest things, I don't know who this was, but I read that he was 60-year-old male. One of the saddest things for me to think about is the fact that individual didn't have a conversation with anybody that was worthy enough to get him to stop doing what he was
Exactly.
Right.
destined
And
to do.
that's, you have to feel, it has to be okay to talk to each other about this stuff.
Yeah.
It has to be okay to talk to your kids about it and make our kids, the next generation, aware of what's happening.
It has to
Right.
stop being treated like a dirty little secret,
Yeah.
because you see these stories in the news of parents losing a child and saying, I had no idea this was happening. Yes, you did. You were just ignoring it.
Or enabling it.
Right. And treating it like it was a secret because you were ashamed of your child. You can't be ashamed of your child.
Right.
Because they're still in there. Like,
Right. They are in
they're
there.
just lost.
It's really tough. That is really, really tough. It wouldn't, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. All right. I wouldn't be me if I didn't ask a question like this.
Go ahead.
Is this a drug? Is this an epidemic for white America?
I'm so glad you.
Is it? Tell me. And
No.
let me.
I've
give you a little
been
more.
waiting for that question
Yeah.
all
I'm
day.
sure. Let me give you a little more. Like I said, if I wouldn't, there are so many things that I deal with on a daily basis, and I don't think people understand exactly what it is that I deal with. And if you pay attention to me, you might see, based on some of the topics that I focus on heavily, things that matter to me, they affect me on a daily basis. And I know, as we all know, that there was another epidemic. There was a crack epidemic, and what we found were people getting jailed. Great. Okay, that was the route that America took. Now we have just an outpouring of love and an outpouring of different, facilities and rehabilitation techniques. And, there's other medicines and this, that, and the third. Like, so I read this earlier today from a friend of mine, and he said something along the lines of, that he agreed with me, but he also was very strict on saying that he believes anybody that's going through this kind of drug abuse should have the opportunity first for recovery, and second, jail that person, because there's
I can't say jail that person because I've been through that system and
his point was the fact that there are too many people playing the system. That he mentioned that there was a friend of his that moved town to town, state to state.
Oh,
and
I read that one.
Would take on some help, would play the system, take on the help, make his decisions, get screwed up, get in trouble, take on the help, leave, go somewhere else, and kind of circumvented going to jail. But years ago, 10, 20, 30 years ago, should I say, it was jail. It was a jail sentence. You now have a prison record. And that has an adverse effect on your life moving forward. If you become, if you never go back into using, or if you do.
I fucked my life up going in the system and my drug abuse. I mean, my life now, I'm rebuilding it, and it's step by step, day by day. Like, I can't rush into anything right now. Anything that, like a relationship, what I actually am in. But the only reason I'm in it is because I gave her the ultimatum, and I told her where I am in my recovery. And I told her that sex is an addiction for me. Having sex, using drugs, it's the same thing. And she agreed that, when you're ready, you're ready.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't just push somebody into something that they're not ready for.
I get it. But yeah, do you think it's a is it a racial thing on any level? I mean, or
I do not believe it is. And what I'm about to say, I'm not taking away anything from what happened in the 80s, but we live in 2018. We can't change that. All we can do is learn from it. But what I will say is the national overdose deaths back then from crack cocaine in the 90s. There were no numbers for the 80s, but the 90s, 6,000 nationwide. In the 2000s, 7,000 deaths nationwide. In the year 2016, more than 52,000 people died from heroin, fentanyl overdoses in 1 year. This is why it's got to this extreme. It has nothing to do with you could be purple or freaking striped. None of that matters. And I think, a lot of people think there are all these resources and detox beds and inpatients. Rochester, Monroe County has 25 detox beds for our whole county. That's insane.
And jail is still the America's main answer to dealing with this epidemic. Like, jail is the first option. You aren't given recovery as the first option. Like, you're arrested, you're thrown in jail, and I believe that you should be mandated to take the recovery
they do got
route
programs
to
like
take
that.
treatment first. They do have those
Yeah,
programs.
because I started that in 97.
Right, but it's not utilized as much as it should be.
And
Recovery should be the first option, and it's not.
right. And unfortunately, so if you're sending a heroin addict into jail, they're not ready for the help. All they're thinking about is using when they get out. Now, they're getting sober in there. They're thinking about using. They don't really think about, okay, I've been sober for this long. I really only need to do a bag, or, we're used to doing 6 or a bundle, or you know what I mean? So a lot of these people are getting released from their beds, coming out and overdosing and dying because they weren't ready. And
It's
I
almost
get
like instant too.
right
When they come out.
I had somebody I was locked up with, and when he got released 2 weeks later, he was dead. He overdosed. And all he was talking about in the unit that we were in, how he wanted to be clean, how he wanted to take care of his son, this and that. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, he's dead. A lot of people talk the talk, but never make that walk. You know what I mean?
And there's only 1% of people who maintain their sobriety.
It's a big.
It's hair.
what do you attribute that to? Why is it so difficult
because you always
to do that.
you know, so many people think, and it could be me, like, you never know. We only have today, and I can work on my recovery and put 110% into it today, and tomorrow's going to be another day. Did that make sense?
No.
Another day.
Yeah.
A new day. And if I don't put that 110% in, I could backslide. I have to do that every single day.
So let me elaborate on that. Everybody's here is in recovery. What got you to stay away from the drug may be different than for Donnie or somebody else. So what was the catalyst for you? Like, what made you say, you know what, enough's enough. I'm not doing this again.
Justin and I had become so toxic to each other. He had struggled with paranoid schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, which it was extreme when he did drugs.
And for those that don't know, Justin is your late
My
husband.
yeah.
Okay.
We had lost custody of my kids, our kids. I had to call my dad from the back of a cop car and have him come get them. I was prostituting. I had nothing left of anything that I owned or took pride. There was nothing left. Like, I was a shell of the person that I once was. I was a licensed cosmetologist before. I had cars. I had a vehicle. I had a great life, and I just gave everything away. And I was so tired. I remember the day that I went, I had slept in an abandoned building, in a basement, and I had called my friend, and I had relapsed, because I had tried to get clean tons of times. And I called my friend, and I was like, my feet hurt. I had blisters from just walking in flip-flops for hours and in the heat, and I was dehydrated, and I was too much of a coward to kill myself, but I wanted to die. And I knew it was either I'm going to die or I'm going to get help. This is it. This is it. This is my last chance. And I went to Loyola, which was a place I had already gone to. And it was hard going back in there and seeing the same nurses and the same doctors. And they welcomed me with open arms, no judgment. None.
Yeah.
And they just cared, and they were like, you can do this. It's okay. It's okay that you're back.
And they were right.
Yeah. And this guy came in. I was in inpatient. I was like 2 weeks in. I was there for a little over a month, but this guy came in, this hippie, and he walked out of the elevators, and all I smelled was patchouli. And I was like, this guy, it's October now, November. He's in flip-flops. His toenails are painted. And he just walked in and gives me a hug. And he's like, I'm proud of you, man. And I'm like, thanks. And I sat in the room and I listened to him. And he was just like.
He's 35 years sober.
I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly.
He takes his shoes off. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But
Just
he was just. He gave off this hope.
Flamboyant hope.
That was infectious. I got infected by it.
Right.
And I've been sober since.
Is that where HopeDealers came from?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of, because he gave me hope, and that's all it took was someone caring enough to be like, you can do this, you know?
Wow.
John, George, Joe, Jim.
All the J's.
Yeah.
So there's hope.
Damn.
So
Yes.
if anybody's listening, watching, commenting, I don't know, there's hope.
Yes.
Yes.
There's definite hope out there.
Yes.
Definitely.
So you have HopeDealers. It's a hashtag movement, right?
Yeah.
The official name is
Be the change.
Be the Change. What does this particular organization do? Is it a support group? Do you guys meet? Well, how do you?
Both.
We're
Do
we're
it
all
all.
of the above.
Okay.
We're mainly a support group for addicts and family members of addicts. We work with the Father Tracy Health and Wellness Center, which is located at 821 North Clinton Avenue. We're there the second and fourth Wednesday of the month from 6 until 8, and then every Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30. We pass out lunches. We give out clothing, personal care items, survival gear.
We're also on the
backpacks.
radio too, 106.3.
Yeah.
So, every Sunday, 4 to 5, we talk about drug awareness. We talk about drug addiction. We talk about anything that's going on in Rochester. We talk about what's going on in the nation. We talk about
Our stories.
people that we bring on, their stories, anything.
Yeah.
Strength and hope.
And inspiration.
Yeah.
Because, it takes being able to share a story for that one person to connect on that level and be like, okay, me too. I'm going through the same thing, and look at you. I want that. I need that. And that's where they begin.
I mean, all I got to say is that Steph did trick me, but she did the best thing for me my whole life right now. Like, I'm sober and I'm clean and I'm looking at things different because of her. And as you're supposed to, in this like addiction, you're supposed to be selfish. You're supposed to be about yourself. But she actually saw where I was and got me into detox, got me into inpatient. As soon as I got, and then they were halfway house. As soon as I got out, she automatically started picking me up and started to go do the needles and start handing out food and then start doing the radio. So everything now, I keep busy, and it's because of her.
So you're committed. You're in.
Yeah.
This organization welcomes people with open arms. The reason I found them is because my son's father is an addict, and he was missing. I thought he was dead, and I stumbled across their page on Facebook and reached out to them, and the amount of love and support and offers of help that I received from complete strangers was ridiculous. And within a matter of days, these people became my friends. And I've never experienced anything like that in my life before, but it's because they understand. We know exactly how it is. So we will welcome anyone. We will help anyone because everyone has a chance to get better.
I can say the first time I was with Steph, not when I was using, when I was in active addiction, but actually when I was sober. And she picked me up for the first time to go pick up needles. And this homeless guy came up, and Dan, and he was like, a lot of people don't help us junkies out. And I'm like, first of all, hold on. You're not a junkie. You're a human being. And as soon as I said that, he just started crying. I started crying because I felt that pain that he was going through. Because a lot of people, when they say junkie, it pushes people down.
Right. If
you call them a human being, that might make them rise. It might make them do something different instead of pushing them away and junkie this, junkie that. I don't even like that word.
And we're our own worst critics.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, they're choosing this life. They choose to act like that, or they choose to do this. And we hate it. We hate ourselves. We hate what we do. We can't stop.
So, in your opinion, what do you think somebody who's actively using it wants to stop? What would you suggest to them to do? Like step by step, what do you do? How do you stop this? Do you wait till you hit rock bottom? I mean, you can't wait to rock bottom, because rock bottom many times over
There's so
is
many
death.
rock bottoms. I used to set up shop in my rock bottom, and I would think that would be it, and it would fall through, and I'd have to get comfortable in my next one. When you're ready, reach out to us. There's we have a hotline that people can call, 585-633-8690.
Say it one more time.
585-633-8690.
Just ask for help. Go to find a meeting. You can even walk into a hospital, and they're supposed to help you find help. Just ask for help from somebody.
There's Gates to Recovery. There's Find Your Path. There's a lot of places that will, help you start your fight.
Mm-hmm.
So you would recommend like a a support group,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
people
We
to talk
can't
to.
do this ourselves.
There's a saying that I love that you guys are probably annoyed with now that I say all the time. The opposite of addiction is not recovery, it's connection. And that's
the first time I ever heard that.
I've said it on the radio like 8,000 times.
That's when
So-
my ADD kicks in and I forget about everything. So
The way I just took that was, if you're addicted, you're just disconnected,
yeah.
more or less.
Yeah.
So you need to find ways to get reconnected to individuals that are either going through it with you, have survived it, and now are in recovery, or
And society in general.
Yeah.
Like you don't feel, like Donnie was saying, a human being. And being a part, like a functioning, contributing member of society again has brought so much more fulfillment to my life. And I know every other person's life who's in recovery now, because you feel connected to the human race again.
Right.
interesting, very interesting. I like that a lot. If you're not connected, get connected. Find help, seek help. Don't be afraid. But also those that are not, using, we could do a better job at reaching out.
Yeah.
We could definitely do it in your
And that's what
family
we're
and your
trying
friends.
to do.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make that so people can reach out, so they're not scared and being afraid that they're doing this while they're high or whatever. They don't want to show their real selves. Show your real self. Don't be afraid. Open up. Let people know what you're doing, how you feel, what's going on in your life, anything.
And
So
just
somebody knows where to start.
Yeah.
That's the
Just
key. Is
listening.
you gotta
can
listen.
help. Right.
Yeah.
That can help someone so much. You don't have to know anything about addiction or how to help them. Just sit there and listen and let them talk.
That works. That works in a
Yeah.
lot of different ways on a lot of different topics. Just sit there and listen. If you don't have the answer, listen. Maybe the two of you can actually come up with something that would be interesting or even advantageous for other people to jump on board with if you create a dialogue and listen. That's all you got to do is listen.
Right.
You guys listening out there? Listen. They're not listening. They don't listen. They don't listen.
That's all I hear is air.
Nobody listens. Okay. All right. So a lot's been covered here. I had a feeling that this was going to run long. We might need to do a follow up. I don't know if you need to skedaddle anytime
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah,
But
I got time.
you got time? Okay.
Yeah.
Donnie's got time, so we're staying on.
I got time.
Let's talk about something else then.
I got
Right.
till 8:00.
I want to talk about medications to get off of these kind of drugs.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Right? I hear the one
Vivitrol.
is Vivitrol.
that's what I'm on.
That's what he's on.
You're on Vivitrol.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Vivitrol then.
Vivitrol is basically it's a new drug that they're coming out with that stops the opiate receptors to the brain and also alcohol. And you don't get any withdrawals from it. You don't get addicted from it. It's not like Suboxone. I think Suboxone, to me, this is my opinion, is another drug. And people that don't want to get off drugs want to use Suboxone. If people want to get off drugs,
Wow.
I would do the Vivitrol.
I'm on Suboxone.
Hang on.
So
Don't
but
start
I'm
a
just,
fight in
that's
here.
my opinion. That's my opinion. You know what I'm saying? That's all I think. Everything from in my head, when I see people that are on Suboxone, first thing I think is they don't want to be clean.
Here's the thing though. I think that Suboxone should be used as a short-term
A short term, not
drug,
long
and I
term.
got
Yeah.
screwed
Yeah.
because I was on it for a few weeks and then I got pregnant and you can't go off of it when
Yeah.
you're pregnant because your baby could die. And I begged them. I was like, please just let me go off of it, and they wouldn't. So now I'm, a couple of years later, I'm still on it, and I'm just now starting to
Wean
the
yourself
long
off.
process of tapering
Yeah.
off, and it sucks. Like I got trapped in that.
So you agree a little bit, right?
Yes, I think that it should be used as a short
Short-term, not long-term.
well, and it was
Correct.
made to be for detox, a
Right.
3 to 4 day treatment.
Yes.
Where
Wow.
this has turned into something people have been on for years. Coming off Suboxone or methadone is worse than coming off of heroin. The
Is that
withdrawal
right?
is horrible. It gets right down into your bone marrow. Your bones hurt.
Yeah, you ache like an old man, like you're 90 years old.
So
And-
this is prescribed to you at a rehab facility.
Yes.
Yes.
And now if
And
you
methadone.
use you cannot use Suboxone and heroin at the same time because it will send you into precipitated withdrawal. But methadone you can still use on.
Mm-hmm.
I had used both of those, and I used them, and they were my reason to relapse because I abused them. I know lots of people who are on them and they work great for them, but for myself, I sold them or I shot them up, or you know what I mean? But everybody's different. And that's the really cool part, is that everybody recovers so differently. And there's no right or wrong way. There's many different tools that people use. You know, some people go to AA or NA or HA. Some people go to Recovery Fitness. Other people do art. Other people do music. And
Some
all
volunteer.
of that's awesome.
Volunteer would be the change. That's
thing
a good change.
The shitty thing about medication assisted treatment, though, is that there's a lot of misinformation out there that's being given by people that are in this field, that work in this field.
Right.
A lot of people are told that you can't use when you're on methadone, like you can't get high, but that's not true. You will reach a limit where when you're on methadone, if you get up to a high enough dose, all of your opioid receptors are filled. And yeah, like you're not going to feel higher because you're already as high as you can, but you can still get high.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and with Suboxone, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it would just be a lot safer. And I feel like a lot more useful if everyone had the same information and that information was just
But see,
everywhere.
nobody's giving that same information.
Right.
Everybody's
It's all
giving something different.
Right.
This
You can do this, you can do that. I think the biggest drug dealers, in my opinion,
is Big Farm.
is the
Oh,
is
yeah.
the doctors, are the insurance companies. They
That's an
are
argument.
pushing everything out.
That's a good argument.
Right.
But
Thank you.
I don't know if that's one that's going to get any change from this little round table.
Oh, yeah, we don't have
That is a great argument.
Yeah.
I would love to follow up on that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the FDA, which was really cool, this was just released today, just approved its first non-opioid drug to ease withdrawal symptoms. Now, besides Vivitrol, Suboxone and methadone both have some opioids in them. So this is the first pill form that has no opioids in it.
Can you use it? Like, do opiates have to be out of your system, like with Vivitrol, or can you go right on it?
I don't know. All I gotta say is that Vivitrol, it's done wonders for me.
Yes, you
Like
can
I don't
take
get
it.
the cravings. I don't get nothing. It doesn't make me hallucinate. It doesn't put me in the state that I used to be in when I was on Suboxone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to. Like I don't want to use. Like I look at drugs now, and I look at alcohol. I look at anything that's gonna ruin my life as like the devil now.
Right.
Like I always went towards that. That was my thing. I wanted to go to the devil. I wanted to hang out with the devil. But now I don't give a fuck about the devil.
Because you've been to hell and back.
Exactly.
And you've got the receipts to prove it.
Thank you.
And it
I got a
sucks to
condo
feel-
right next to fucking Fire River. Come on, man. Get the
It
fuck out of
sucks
here.
to feel like your hands are so tied too. Like if I wanted to go out and travel right now, I would have to make sure that I'm back in the States within 30 days so I can get my fucking refill. Like you're still bound to something. And with methadone, it's even worse.
Right.
But you also have to hang around the right people too when you're in recovery.
Sure. So, okay, not many of us have been through recovery, have been into a detox or anything like that. What is that even like? To me, it's like you go in there and you lay around in a bed and you have somebody to give you a rah-rah, give you hope. And then somebody forces pills in your mouth every, 2 to 4 hours. I don't know. Like what happens at a detox facility? Like legit, what takes place there? Is it like jail where you learn how to be a better criminal, or do people really want help?
Both.
Both, yeah.
Some people are mandated there.
And those are the ones that usually
And-
don't make it. Are the ones that are mandated. The ones that want to do it are the ones that actually do make it.
Right.
You see people at their worst in detox because you're going through literal
Yeah.
hell. Like your body feels like it's eating itself alive. So you're seeing people, puking and shitting and sweating and oh my God, it's just gross. And you're all in the
Horrible.
same room and it's awful. But I mean, you also form connections with people that way because you're seeing each other.
At your most bomb.
It's kind of like
That's all, folks.
it's kind of like I tried my hand at the CrossFit thing. Right, this is way off subject, but it kind of relates to the same thing. I tried my hand at the CrossFit thing, and it was the stigma around it was, oh my God, it's so stupid. I don't need a nation. I don't need a whole group of people to push me through a workout. Hand me some dumbbells, bro. I got this. Right. Well, I was wrong. You go and do like a CrossFit workout, and for one, it's probably the most intense workout that you've ever had in the span of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, right? But the encouragement and support you get from others that are at different levels of success,
They're trying to push you up more.
they all push you up. The support is it's almost cult-like and ridiculous. Like you get a lot of
And
support.
that's how all the meetings for AA and NA, that's how those are too. When you first walk in, say this is like your first time going, and say that this is your first day being sober. Like they welcome you open arms. They tell you, you're doing good. Keep going. And if it's just your first day, they give you a hug to let you know that they care.
I like it. Let's see if there's any questions. Do we have any questions or comments?
There were no questions. Brad Clarkson has a lot of amazing comments. Just, information, being supportive. Jason Hilton said to anyone out there asking for help that he is willing if they would like to reach out.
You might need to come closer. Come closer. I don't know if you guys can hear any of that. Let's hear what's going on here.
Jill Forrester said she's proud of all of you.
Oh, we love her.
Brad Clarkson has a lot of good information on the subject. We've got Jason Hilton said that he is willing to help anybody who is in need. And a lot of friends are, glad that the subject is being brought up and very interested in listening and saying hello.
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
Can I say something
You can
really
say
cool?
whatever you want.
So, as of May 13th, which we started this back in July, HopeDealers BTC has picked up 17,603 needles.
Wow.
We've handed out 2,101 lunches. We've passed out 14 sheet pizzas. And we got our 46th person into recovery 2 days ago. So
I'd like to clap for that. I would love to clap for that. That is amazing.
yeah.
So something that you started just to kind of help out maybe one or two people has now blossomed into something so strong. I'm proud of you guys. I mean,
Now let me
awesome.
look at you right now and just, would you ever think that you would ever have a conversation like this that we're having with me and her? Ever?
Honestly,
Never.
no.
Did it ever cross your mind that you would be sitting here asking about opiates and drug addiction and all that kind of stuff? No. It
could happen to anybody.
Exactly.
At any point in time.
Exactly.
It's not related to the color of your skin or your ethnic background, your financial status. It's not, it transcends all that. It pops into any population. It is easily accessible, and people that typically should not be involved with things like that get sucked in just like somebody who would be at risk.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've noticed, and that's what I see. And
That's what actually is happening.
And quite frankly, I don't know what to do to stem it, to stop it, to eradicate it. Is it just more support? Is it just more love? Is it just, hey, keep your eyes open and these are the warning signs? Is it maybe a little bit of tough love and maybe a little bit of forcing them into something? I mean,
I just want to say that tough love doesn't work.
Tough love does not work.
Does not work.
Does not work.
No.
Okay.
I think breaking the stigma is going to be a huge part of it. And there are so many kids right now being raised by grandparents, 3 or 4 separate generations. My dad's helping me raise my 2 kids. So it's very weird because, I grew up with a Roman Catholic parents, very strict. We didn't have cable, no Nintendo. Like, my kids are like, it's so horrible here, but my dad just got cable. I'm like, you guys have no idea. Like, come on. But these kids have suffered immense loss, whether their parents are still out there on the streets, whether their uncle or brother or sister, they're going through this. And they're, you know, these are traumas that they may not know how to deal with. And as they get older, they may turn to drugs. So this is why educating them now is so important, at least to me, because that's where I see, you know, things changing is when we're telling our next generation, this is what can happen. You know, this is my experience and my strength and my hope, and I'm going to share it with you to hopefully prevent you from going through it. And if not, know I'm here if you need the help.
So wait, you remember the DARE programs that you would come to school?
Dude,
Now,
I won it. I got to read my essay in front of all of Jefferson Avenue.
The irony here.
Yes.
I don't know, when they were coming there and they were talking about drugs and this, I was a little kid. I was like, damn, I want to try that.
Some
I want to see.
people
I
are
want to
like that.
see.
That's how I was.
I want to see how that feels. I mean, they're telling me what it feels like. They didn't say nothing about death. They didn't say nothing about addiction. They were just saying this is this drug, you know, will ruin your life. But for some reason, in my head, I still wanted to do it.
That's how it was for me.
I don't know what.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm really fucked up. I just don't know.
I want to say really quickly too, the RPD, Fairport police officers, Gates police, they're all working together. You know, there's a disconnect between us normal people and the boys in blue. We joke around now because we'll be in the room with them often and we're not running for the door. And we can have good conversations and joke, and, you know, they're trying to handle things in a different manner.
So you mean to tell me police officers are not bad? Like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not buying that just yet.
I'm just giving it just one fact that
Yeah.
I didn't have to sweat and I didn't have to run when they, you know, were talking. I actually had conversations with them and I laughed with them, like Steph said, and it was actually a good feeling. It was.
Yeah.
But there are fucked up cops out there. There are good ones. There are bad ones. You just
It
don't
is.
know what you're gonna find.
Wow.
Just like a drug
Right.
addiction.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're gonna find.
I just want to say there is no one answer to this. There's so many different facets that need to be involved. But for me, what I think it ultimately comes down to is that kindness matters. You just have to be kind to one another. We just have to be kind to one another, and that'll just make everything so much easier. It's
I
as
agree.
simple as that.
Right.
Really.
I agree.
If we don't learn from our past, like, we're just going to keep repeating history. We have been for years. We've been repeating it. It's time we break that.
I agree again. I think most people would agree with that. What ends up happening more times than not is just the opposite. We don't talk. We have that stigma. We get off at an exit and we see somebody there panhandling. We immediately have a judgment, right? You know, we see a reporting on the news. We immediately think we know what that person went through, and you know, and we've already judged that person. I mean, so I guess the long and short is we need to be open. We need to be respectful. We need to love. We need to be open. We need to care. We need to have
bring
dialogue.
the 60s back.
Bring the 60s back.
Yeah, you know, the little peace and love and, you know,
Oh, like
come on.
that lady on the
Yeah.
one that stands there. She's like,
Stands on the
yeah.
road, she just goes like this.
all
peace.
day to everybody.
But then sometimes she'll go like this.
Yeah, she does.
Oh my gosh, the old lady.
Yes.
She's
That's
She's like
it.
70s.
This is not a show for children.
I was like, should we call somebody?
Yeah.
I know, I was worried.
Yeah.
That's great. That is funny.
She's
So
legit in like her 70s.
Yeah. Maybe older.
Yeah, maybe. Gotta be.
But still, I mean, the peace and the love is what we don't have anymore.
Right.
And that's why people want to an active addiction don't have it. If they got that respect and, you know,
you might need to
Just-
speak up in the
just to even talk to them,
Yeah.
just to even just acknowledge them and just anything. You know, I wish I had that back in the day, but I was also really fucked up in that. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't.
Donnie was a dick.
Yes, I was.
Yes, he was.
I mean, you knew that.
Donnie, we grew up together. We've
Yes, we did.
done some things. You know,
Yes,
we've
we
seen
have.
some things. I'm. Let me say this much. I'm very proud of you. Right.
We
I know.
Everybody.
I know you've been through a lot. Right. You're still here.
Yeah.
You're still kicking.
Yeah.
So all that happened is nothing.
Right.
Not enough to kill you. It means
Right.
it's nothing. It's
I mean,
shit.
I did die, and I came back.
Well,
And I think there is a God that's telling me I have a purpose for something. Now I'm actually figuring out what my purpose is.
Yep.
Is to do what I'm doing when I wake up every day. That's what I see as my purpose. Now I don't see it as I see it as helping people. Like I never thought of that. Never in a million years that I would be trying to talk to somebody into recovery.
yeah.
I never thought I would try to get somebody in a detox. I never thought I would, hand people clothes or even pick up needles.
You're living proof.
How does it make you feel though?
It makes you feel good.
That's what it's about. If you feel good at the end of the day, if you do more good than bad each day, I think you're winning.
Yeah. And that's what fucking keeps pushing me. Is because I feel better every day.
What? Let me ask you a question. What have you learned about yourself? You personally, what have you learned about yourself throughout this entire process? I mean, starting from no drugs to getting off of drugs to here we are today. What have you learned about the progression of Donnie?
It's getting better. Day by day, it's getting better. I'm actually out there more than I used to. When I was in active addiction, I was always in a house smoking crack or fucking blowing lines, doing Molly, just hanging out with girls, doing this, ignoring her phone calls. But today, I answer phone calls now. Like I was afraid to even talk to people because I didn't want to, because if I talked to anybody, it would ruin my high. So I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to answer their phone call. Now I answer their phone calls. I even answer the phone calls from telemarketers.
He does. I think he really does.
And that
That's my
hurts.
specialty, Donnie.
Yeah.
It's my specialty.
Yeah.
He
So
will answer the phone and then just say no and hang up.
yeah, I don't even like talking. I honestly don't like talking on the phone, but I'm starting to do it now.
Yeah.
So you're evolving.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It took this fucking long, and that's what kills me.
Nah,
I understand that.
it's not up to us. That's me.
I know that.
That's my favorite thing.
I know that.
It's not up to us to decide when it clicks. Just as long as you are taking that step in that direction, whatever direction it is, every day, every moment, every opportunity, at some point in time, you will 100% be there.
And you know what else that keeps me going is people like you, positive
Mhm.
friends that I've
Appreciate
had
that.
my whole life that stopped talking to me or didn't want to be involved with me, but now see where I'm at and see what path I'm on, and accept who I am now
Yeah.
and push me forward. Like just saying what you just said meant a lot.
Well, you're an inspiration. I love you.
I love you too.
Good deal.
Tell him what you do with your money now, too.
Aw.
Instead of going out and actually buying drugs, we will actually go shopping and he will buy things that he actually wants now. And it makes him proud to do that. So.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Like buying shoes. Like it
Right.
took me a
Hats.
long time to
I can't get
hats,
over that feeling. Like when I go
Hats.
into a store and I have money and I like can buy something. that-
something
Yeah,
name
like-
brand,
Right.
Hey,
not
I don't have
hand
to
me
steal
down.
it.
Yeah.
A new appreciation for the little things.
Yeah.
It is.
And that's how fucked up it is that
Yeah.
just those little things makes it 10 times bigger for
Oh yeah.
any addict.
and it's almost like being reborn, because it's learning all these little things that
Mhm.
we've taken for granted for
Mhm.
so long, and waking up not being sick and the sun shining and the birds are chirping, and I don't have to go figure out how I'm going to get high for the day. I can just sit here and relax, and little things that are awesome.
Every single time it rains or snows or it's just shitty weather outside, every single time I think about how just happy and grateful I am that I'm in a house, that I have a roof over my head, and I don't have to figure out where I'm going to go or where I'm going to sleep. Like, it's so weird, but it literally happens every single time.
Right?
And
How
that's
you gonna
such a
warm up
small
and-
thing. That's such a small thing, having a roof over your head.
Yeah. Without, what do they say? Without the rain, you couldn't appreciate the sunshine,
Right.
right? So you guys have all been through the stormy weather, and hopefully moving
hurricanes.
forward, the hurricanes, right? Tsunamis. Even.
Tsunamis.
The tsunami.
You've
Yeah.
seen it all,
Yeah.
but moving
The
forward,
apocalypse.
you apocalypse, zombies and shit.
Yeah, there we go.
You never know.
Yeah, true that.
I mean, Donnie died and came back to life.
So,
he,
yeah.
like,
Right.
has superpowers.
Well, he's a zombie.
He's a straight zombie.
And I didn't get brain damage.
That's what that
And I
white
didn't get
hair
liver
has.
damage.
Yes.
No liver damage, no brain damage, no nothing. I was dead for an hour and 45 minutes. Like 30 minutes or not even less than 30 minutes, action to the brain, you get brain damage. I think it actually helped me. Actually put my brain into the right spot. I just sort of hide things because I think I just twisted it a little bit. I think it cut off
You guys hearing this, America?
I think it cut off the oxygen and then rebuilt it and rebuilt my brain to who I am today.
He's a zombie.
He's not on drugs.
But I'm not on drugs.
He's not on drugs.
Yeah.
We need a different sit down, Donnie.
Yeah.
Holy
Bring it,
smokes.
Brent. Bring it.
No. All right.
That'll be like a 3-hour session.
Easily 3 hours. Listen, there's going to be so much. I want to have another conversation with you guys. And if you have more people that want to come on, I'd love that too. There's definitely way too much to cover. We've just literally scratched the surface.
Yeah,
I,
basically.
I have so many more questions. And, but in order for me to develop additional questions, I need to see more of what's going on. So I would do my own little due diligence, and hopefully people watching are going to do theirs as well.
I think you should come out with us again in the summer.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You know,
Sunday.
I'm glad you said
Sunday.
that. I'm glad you said that because I was actually thinking during this talk, I said the weather's getting nicer. It's going to be easier for people to live outside and live on the street. Do you think that a surge of activity will take place?
Oh yeah, a
Already
lot of
has.
people
There's
relapse
already
when the weather turns. It happens every year.
So how do you get in front of that?
Um,
What can be done? Like, you know, as we wrap this up, like what can we do?
We have a regular, I won't say his name, but we've been seeing him since we started this, and we got him into treatment like a month and a half ago. And we pulled him out of this abandoned house that he's been living in. He's in his 60s, and he got out, and he looks amazing. And that little step, that one person made a huge difference.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead. No, somebody just mentioned about a mobile broadcast of a needle pickup.
we do that
Yeah.
too. We do our live feeds. We have a YouTube channel, which is on our website. We've gone to houses where it has literally rained needles.
Hit the website.
www.HopeDealersBTC.com.
Also the radio station.
Yeah.
What's the station?
106.3 FM from every Sunday from 4 to 5.
How about the hotline number again?
585-633-8690.
And if you're online trying to find additional information, what is the hashtag where everything is going to be located at?
Hashtag be the change.
Okay.
Yeah. And people can go on our website too. We have links of different services. Recovery Fitness is great. It's a free gym that people in recovery or family members can go to. They do tons of stuff. There's lots of stuff on the site that,
A lot of activities.
Yeah, you don't have to be alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything planned in the next weekend or month or during the summer?
we are starting kickball sporting events. We're teaming up with Recovery Fitness, and there's a big field across the street from 821, and it's a very active using field. So our goal, we just need one more okay, which should be a go. And we will be out of pocket getting kids in that neighborhood, and people will be volunteering as coaches and getting the kids out, the family out to come out and play sports with us. We'll hopefully have enough waters to pass out, snacks. We're always taking donations of food and clothing and stuff like that. But we want to connect, you know, we want everybody to connect.
Yeah.
And that's our goal.
Seems like a very good goal.
Yeah.
I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up then. Let's wrap this up. I don't think anybody's live with any questions, so let's wrap it up. I do want to say something off topic here. This particular podcast is brought to you in part by Flower City Insurance Agency. Said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm doing it.
Hey.
You did it.
I said I wasn't going to do it, but I did it.
Uh-oh.
So it is, in fact, the reason why we're able to do this today. Flower City Insurance Agency.
Thanks, guys.
Auto, home,
Thank
boat,
you.
life, business. Contact them if you
Yeah.
have any of those needs. Other than that, I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for
Anybody
having
else?
us.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Brett.
It was a
this was fun.
pleasure meeting you.
You got it, guys. Take care. We'll see you guys soon.